After missing the past 3 games and 5 overall in his rookie season with the Pittsburgh Steelers because of knee injuries, first-round pick Derek Harmon is expected to return Sunday when the Steelers face the Detroit Lions. It will be a special moment for Harmon, and not because he was born and raised in the Motor City. "I'm more excited to get back on the field than going back home," Harmon said Thursday afternoon. "Of course, it's nice to go back home and play in front of family. I've played on that field from Little League to high school, so I know what it's about. I want to get back on the field with my brothers." Harmon was a full practice participant Thursday for the second day in a row. Coach Mike Tomlin said Harmon would have dress Monday night against the Miami Dolphins, but he held Harmon out as a precaution. "I was a little agitated, but I know Coach T is looking out for the best for the team and for me," Harmon said. Harmon estimates he has made 3 appearances at the Ford Field. The last 2 came when he was at Loyola High School as part of the Catholic League playoffs. Asked about playing indoors on an artificial surface that was upgraded in 2023 when Harmon was in college, the massive defensive tackle didn't hesitate with his answer. "It's football," he said. "It's football." Harmon grew up admiring Lions star defensive tackle Ndamukong Suh, a former number 2 overall pick who spent his first 5 NFL seasons with the Lions. Now, Harmon will have a chance to play in front of friends and family Sunday in his hometown. Harmon doesn't know how many family members will be in attendance. He can only request a limited amount of tickets from the Steelers. "I've been getting a lot of texts," he said, "but once I found it was coming out of my checking account." The Detroit Lions had their former offensive coordinator Ben Johnson to blame for their playoff chances getting even more complicated heading into their Sunday, December 21st, game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Since Johnson's Chicago Bears beat the Green Bay Packers, the NFC North's playoff map is all over the place, and the Lions are going to need some extra help to get to the coveted postseason. The Bears rallied to beat the Packers in overtime on Saturday, December 20th, and that narrowed the path for the Lions to make the postseason by just winning their final 3 games. Now, before the Bears get too big-headed about this win, it's worth noting that Packers quarterback Jordan Love was out for much of the game with a concussion, so it's not really a flex to barely beat a team that doesn't even have their franchise quarterback on the field. Just saying. So, now that the Bears have beaten the Packers and split their series, the Lions' playoff chances rest on not only winning out their season, but also seeing more losses by the Bears, Packers, and San Francisco 49ers to get to the postseason. Detroit Lions playoff chances following Bears win over Packers. The Detroit Lions have a 29% chance to make the playoffs, according to the NFL's statistics and research. Those odds can improve to 41% with a win over the Steelers, and they fall to 6% with a loss. The Lions don't have any clinching scenarios or any elimination scenarios in Week 16, but they have a chance to make life a bit easier for them with a win over the Steelers. Their easiest way to get to the postseason would be to catch up with either the Bears or Packers in the NFC standings. But that will take not just winning but also luck. To catch the Bears, the Lions would have to win out the rest of their season, and the Bears would have to lose 2 remaining games. To catch the Packers, Detroit would have to win out their season, and the Packers would have to lose at least one of the final 2 games, or the Lions could also 2 of 3 games, and the Packers could lose final 2 games for a catch-up. Another road to the playoffs for the Detroit Lions. The Lions also have a road to the playoffs if they catch up to the San Francisco 49ers. For that to happen, the Lions would have to win their final 3 games and the 49ers would have to lose their final 3 games, or the Lions would have to win their remaining 3 games and the 49ers would have to lose 2 games and tie 1. Any way you look at it, it's not pretty when it comes to the Detroit Lions' chances of making the postseason. Here's where some of those losses to mediocre teams earlier in the season is coming back to bite the Detroit Lions. Plus, it pours salt in the wound to see Johnson thriving with the Bears. The Lions absolutely needs the right person calling offensive players for the team's talented roster of players. The Pittsburgh Steelers have a lot of meat left on the bone in the 2025 season as the team is pushing forward with an 8-6 record. The group is currently trying to clinch a spot in the postseason by winning the AFC North. The season is far from over and the AFC seems relatively wide open, so a good portion of the fan base in Pittsburgh is holding out hope that the franchise can end its drought of playoff success. There is another sect of fans, however, that have essentially given up hope and are more focused on the future and primarily figuring out the quarterback situation. Pittsburgh went out and signed Aaron Rodgers during the 2025 offseason to a one-year deal, and he has not said for certain whether or not he will be retiring after the 2025 season. If he decides he wants to keep playing, it is fair to assume that he might not want to go to another organization again, so he could return to Pittsburgh. However, if he does decide to stop playing football, the Steelers need a plan to move forward. Will Howard and Mason Rudolph are both under contract in 2026, but the organization will likely want other options as the starter. The Steelers could find themselves in a spot to draft a quarterback, but if not, the organization will look to the veteran market yet again. One interesting name that is expected to be available is Daniel Jones. The Steelers were mentioned as a wild card when it comes to going after Jones in a recent article by Jeff Howe of The Athletic. The Colts should be considered the favorites to keep Jones, but don't rule out a wild card like the Minnesota Vikings or Pittsburgh Steelers if they view him as an upgrade, Howe wrote. Pittsburgh is a wild card because there's a lot that isn't known about the future of the quarterback position for the franchise. Rodgers' future is unknown as mentioned, and probably won't be known for a while. The franchise has no pressure to start a sixth-round pick like Howard, and the organization already knows what it has in Rudolph. The Steelers won't likely be in a good spot to trade up to the top of the draft to land a quarterback, so Jones would probably be a viable option. There is an obvious issue when it comes to pursuing a quarterback like Jones, and that is health. The quarterback was playing on a partially broken leg a couple of weeks ago, and he tore his Achilles in Week 14 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Depending on who is asked, an injury like that typically takes 9 to 12 months to bounce back from. Thankfully, the broken leg and Achilles are in two different legs. If they were the same leg, the broken bone could have caused swelling that would have delayed an Achilles surgery in all likelihood. Jones is currently on a one-year deal with the Indianapolis Colts, and it should be expected for the Colts to look to keep him around on an extension. He was having the best season of his career with the Colts, and he was even considered an MVP candidate at certain parts of the 2025 season. The only question moving forward regarding Jones is going to be his value, as he comes off of a serious injury. A disagreement between him and the Colts on that matter could drive him towards signing elsewhere. Steelers will have several interesting options at quarterback if needed. Jones is one option for Pittsburgh, but there are others out there. Mac Jones played great when he started games for the San Francisco 49ers in 2025, but he is under contract with the 49ers in 2026. He would have to be traded for, which does complicate things. Many fans would like to see Pittsburgh try its best to land the quarterback of the future through the NFL draft, but that is seeming less and less realistic as the years go by.